So I spoke previously about moral certainty, about perfect clarity, about ruthless intent or utter ruthlessness, because ruthlessness trumps everything. But one of the things I think that distinguishes warrior flow from most other systems, besides the fact that there's no ambiguity in our mind of what we're training to do, and that is this understanding that when you have to go into action, that it's an all or nothing proposition. You can't get a little pregnant once you cross that threshold. The other thing is, and I think that people misunderstand this, bad guys are not concerned if they're attacking you about getting in trouble. And that's a big one for a lot of people. I hear it all the time from people, what if I do this, what if I do that, and I could get in trouble and go to jail, and my attitude is, as opposed to what, being a homicide victim? So this is nonsense. But the reality is you have a legal right to self-defense, and that there are provisions within the law regarding what self-defense is. I'll probably do a video on that later. I'm not going to get down in the weeds for now. But in warrior flow, the way we see it, there are different types of martial arts and different types of martial artists, right? There are martial artists who are sport fighters and they want to compete, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I still watch MMA on TV, UFC. I watch all that stuff, boxing. I love that stuff. And of course, I was watching the NCAA wrestling championships. I love that stuff. Then there's martial arts that, for lack of a better term, is for some people it's a religion or even a cult. And we've all seen that, which is a big problem in the martial arts, and it actually has hurt the martial arts and our overall image. There's also martial arts for fitness. Some people, they just like doing martial arts or doing different types of martial arts, especially a lot of internal arts like Tai Chi, because it's great fitness. And, yeah, I'm all about that. But then there is what we call martial arts as war. And we even make a distinction between self-defense and martial arts as war, because a lot of self-defense is really about controlling people. It's really about, the primary goal is to escape. The primary goal is just to survive an attack. And while that seems good on the surface, and again, we can debate this, here's the problem. Victims of violent attacks, including rape, serious, assaults, they survive. They survive. But I can assure you, if they had the means of turning the tables on their attacker, they would have. And they probably would have even used lethal force. So when you say just survive an attack, what I found over the years is people who come and train with us in Warrior Flow, they don't want to survive an attack. They don't want to just escape. I mean, anybody can run, right? And I'm not saying escape is not an option. However, you got to ask yourself, how long can I keep that up? You got to be in some pretty good shape to outrun a mob, let's say. And my point is, at some point, you just got to fight, and that's all there is to it. So we view it as not so much self-defense in the form of controlling people, whatever, making people tap out or whatever, but as war. Meaning for us, it's an all or nothing proposition. Because whether I'm dealing with somebody who means to kill me or not, I don't know that. You don't know that. I don't know what's going on in another person's head. If I did, I wouldn't be in the situation in the first place. I'd actually be clairvoyant, and I'd probably be playing the stock market and making trillions, or whatever the case may be. So we look at it as martial arts as war because we don't know what another person is capable of. We don't know what another person is bringing to the fight. We don't know what's going on in their head. You don't know what's going on in their head. You can only judge them by their behavior. And so for us, if the potential is to lose our lives, we're going to fight with everything we got. We're going to do whatever we have to do. And if I have to pick the mailbox up and hit them with it, I'm going to do that. In other words, for us, once we go to that place, in our mindset, we have perfect clarity that for those few brief moments, it's an all or nothing proposition. And if I put them down quick, I put them down quick. If I got to keep fighting, I'm going to fight, and I'm not going to give up. If I have to fight, I'm going to fight. And, as Grandmaster Karen used to have a great saying, whenever people would ask him the what if question of, oh, what if this guy or that guy, or, you think you can beat this guy, you think you can beat that guy? And I love his expression. I don't know if I can kick anybody's butt. All I know is if you mess with me and you go there with me, you're going to have to kill me. It's going to be like that. And that's kind of the philosophy when we're talking martial arts as war that we engage in. And that is, I don't know if I can kick anybody's butt. I don't know. anything can happen. Anybody can kill anybody. I've seen it. You know, I've been in combat several times. Trust me, I've seen it. Here's the deal. If you give me the chance to protect myself, you better kill me, because it's going to be like that. And so when we're talking about martial arts as war, we're not talking about getting into arguments with people on the internet, like the stuff I see, people challenging people, which is the wrong thing to do. And I can probably talk to that as it relates to self-defense maybe in a later video, or people talking about, oh, what if this guy or that guy? Hey, listen, here's the deal. I don't know. You know, people ask, well, what if a guy goes to grab your legs? What if a guy goes, listen, the guy trying to grab my legs, no matter who they are, is a guy trying to grab my legs. As far as I'm concerned, he's just another dude. A guy on the street taking a swing at me for whatever reason is a guy taking a swing at me for whatever reason. And whether he's good at that or not, he's still a guy taking a swing at me. I still got to deal with his action. I still got to deal with his behavior. I still got to deal with his motion. All I know is whatever happens, if I get the chance, you know, you better bring it, because it's going to be like that. Because I'm going to bring the house. I'm going to bring the kitchen sink. I'm going to bring everything. And it's an all or nothing proposition. I'm going to leave it all on the battlefield. As the Welsh would say, you know, let all the blood be on the front of you. I actually had a friend, he was Welsh, and he told me he had never heard that expression. And I then had to question his, you know, his ancestry, whether he was actually Welsh. But my point is that in Warrior Flow, when it comes to this stuff, we have perfect clarity. We're not, you know, Superman. We don't think we're any tougher than anyone else. We're just training in a way that if you go there with us, that's what it's going to be. That's what the probable outcome is. And if your mind is not in that place, you know what? It's not my problem. If you're not prepared to deal with it, it's not my problem. Because remember, the bad guys got to deal with you as well. And they got to deal with your actions. And they got to deal with how you respond to whatever they're trying to do. This is why bad guys use subterfuge. This is why they use weapons. This is why they ambush people. Why? They don't want to get hurt either. They don't want to get killed either. So just keep that in mind as we go through this what if series. But I have to put this stuff out there to preface this so that when you watch videos, when you watch how we frame techniques and skills and scenarios, you have a better understanding of where we're coming from.